as we cross under 3 minutes left to go. But yeah, currently those bottom runners, Kendricks, not a time on the board yet, but I'd expect that we'll see a pretty representative lap time from the Alpine driver. Of course, we won't see a delta there, but Strakosaur still up 2/10 through 2 sectors. Big slide there out of the final corner from him, though it seems that he's jumping all over the place. So Strakosaur's connection hopefully not too much of an issue during the race, but Kendrick seemingly very comfortable through sector number 1. Of course, making his way up the hill is teammate of Eric on an outlap behind him. Chimp Pimp as well on the lap. That's 53.0 through 2 sectors. And again, still with time to potentially put extra laps on the board. Formula Jonah on a push lap, but a second and a half down through sector 1. I think as well, yeah, just taking that extra lap to get those tires into the operating window, hill 1. But here comes Chimp Pimp. Currently 15th without a time on the board is the Mercedes. Can he jump up how far can he jump up the board? He'll start 12th as of the moment. I believe that was Husky just crossing the line. That was a 2/10 improvement. That'll bump him up to P5. So again, that battle up at the front, very, very tight. Here comes, I believe that's both Alpines coming around the final corners. Here comes Kendricks. There was a 52.8 through the first 2 sectors. DRS going to open up. That's only good enough for 11th, but he still has time to potentially take another go at things. Here comes Eric to the line as well. I believe that's just to start a lap, though, as we have 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go. So enough time for potentially one more lap from everybody coming out. The Mercedes, there's a Mercedes coming out of the pits now. And I think that's, going to be very tight from him. But everybody crossing the line now is going to be starting their last goes. Viperize currently sits in 4th. Yet Husky Gaming just behind him. We do get Alcoholic Husky in, so we will have 18 drivers. But of course, I think he will certainly have to start from the back. Viperize runs a little wide there. Still will have time to start another lap, but was about matching his personal best lap time, but will not improve further. Gumball will get another lap in. Stratting has started his final lap, so I'll see where he's at through the first sector. As he comes over the hill into turn 1, he's slightly up through the first sector, up about half a tenth. Though that potentially leaves a tenth and a half in the locker in that first sector. Awesome Gumball behind, didn't quite catch but that's a big rear lockup from the Ferrari driver, so that lap going to have to be aborted. Stratting, meanwhile, invalidates, so he will not improve. Breakfast King just going to get to the line with 10 seconds, so could them McLaren have a shot at pole? Could it be Viperize that we see on pole? Guardian Knight does not think he'll improve from 9th, so he'll retire as that is the end of qualifying. So the bottom 5 drivers are set. Speedy Gunner will not get an extra lap, and he'll start no better than 11th. Viperize, though, continuing to push a little bit of traffic towards the back there. Gumball, of course, not improving. Stratting was improving. Breakfast King, as he crossed that first timing marker, only matching that first sector time. So is Viperize in. Husky Gaming is not improving, so he won't start any better than 5th. So here comes Viperize making his way through sector 2, up and over the hill, but he will invalidate. He was already down 3/10, so just pushing to try and find that little bit extra time. So it does seem to be Awesome Gumball who will start on pole, unless Breakfast King can do anything else about it. Of course, currently sitting in 3rd. Gonna have to find a quarter of a second, a little bit of a slide through there, but not improving by enough. Here he comes up over the hill now. Can he pull out any magic here in this final sector to potentially pull anything back? So here he comes now. Can he find that quarter of a second? The Aston Martin getting away to the infield. Going to keep it nice and tight. Of course, still currently in a battle for Stratting for P2 on track. Breakfast King comes to the line. He will not improve. He'll actually lose a quarter of a second, so he'll start 3rd. And that will be the end of qualifying, unless Kendricks has anything to say about it. No, he'll just dive to the inside. And that will be the end of qualifying. So it will be Awesome Gumball starting on pole for Ferrari. Stratting will start 2nd, followed by Breakfast King and Viperize. Husky Gaming, Eric in the Alpine, Dachal in the V-Carb, LAF, Formula Jonah, and Guardian Knight are your top 10. As we get ready to get back underway, Eric is back. Rostamol screws up parking. He is DSQ'd, so we're just waiting on Bar2 now to get parked up. And then we'll be ready to go racing. That Red Bull, I believe that is, I don't know which Red Bull that is, but of course, waiting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we're underway here in Portugal. Bad start from Breakfast King as he'll drop right down the order, but seems to be a good getaway from Gumball. There's an Alpine up the inside. That's Eric. So his AI getting a great start, but a couple of good drivers dropping down the order, but a great getaway from Gumball. Stratting and Viper has come together, so the Aston Martins collide down there at turn 3. That's a McLaren running wide. Bunch of lag in here in places. That's a Williams towards the back. That's Bartu with an incident. The Alpine is back, I think, but jumping all over the place. They're side by side, but seemingly clean as we make it through these early stages. But Gumball starting to make a bit of a breakaway now at already a second ahead. The Aston Martins come together, but they are still second and fourth. Guardian Knight and Eric swapping places as they come up the hill. That Alpine, that is the Alpine of Eric, running a little bit wide. 3 wide, almost 4 wide as they come over the hill. In the back, Husky already up into 11th after starting from a little bit further adrift, but it's mediums for the top 5. So those tires, great start. Formula Jonah dropped down the order. Yellow flag behind. That's a big wreck. That's both Mercedes and a Williams. And that's going to bring out a virtual safety car here on lap number 1. Of course, just waiting for this virtual safety car to lift, and then we'll get back underway. Of course, that is going to neutralize Awesome Gumball's advantage slightly, and it'll start to neutralize the soft tire penalty. Viperize, though, gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. Just pushing that delta in the closing stages and just coming up to that braking zone is going to give him a drive-through. So that's a big hit against the Aston Martin driver here on lap number 2, and just going to add to what he's going to have to get back. Of course, we'll have the option of softs later in the race. Dachal with a big mistake coming up over the hill at turn number 8, so he runs wide. He'll drop right down the order. Kendrick's up in a 5th, getting past LAF. But, big news with Viperize getting an early drive-through penalty here on lap number 2. Speedy Gunner losing time now. There's 3 cars all within each other. LAF is ghosted at the moment, so there's 3 cars all there, and it's the Ferrari who's going to come out worse. Guardian Knight gets damage as they tried to put 3 cars into a portion of the circuit where it's really hard to get to, and that's massive wing damage for Guardian Knight. He's going to run off into the gravel now and is going to drop right down the order. Of course, Husky Gaming starting the lap. Here comes Husky and Eric on the outside of LAF. Of course, the Red Bull and Alpine, both with DRS. Husky going to look to put the squeeze on Eric, who is going to get the inside and is going to get both drivers into turn 1. Husky still getting a position, is going to switch it back to the inside for turn 3. Can he get it stopped? He'll have the outside now as we go up the hill into turn number 4. Still Eric for the moment, but Husky going to have that better exit. Who has DRS as we come up over the hill? It's nobody. Both rear wings closed, and so we get down into the hairpin, and Eric finally manages to hold on, but Alcoholic Husky gets tagged by LAF as he went through, and then gets a time penalty for recovering that car. So that's a big penalty for him, and will certainly go to Steward's review as Husky, I think, looking for that cutback. LAF just not thinking he was going to do that. I went right into the back of him. So Eric up into 5th. Husky still only in 7th and not too far back, but is going to have that time penalty to serve now. But Husky managing to keep pace with Gumball. Of course, Stratting certainly putting him under pressure. Battle of the bright fluoro green versus the British Racing green, and that's probably a track limits warning there for Husky, running a little bit wide. Here comes Stratting with the assistance of DRS. He's going to look around the outside and cut back to the racing line and comfortably take that position as they make the run down into T1. So now it's Stratting moving up into the lead. Alcoholic Husky losing a position to Formula Jonah in much the same way. So one kick Sauber goes down a spot in that DRS zone. The other will gain a position. Not really sure is Formula Jonah now getting past LAF into turn 1, so a good move up the inside from the kick Sauer, really attacking those sausage curves as we jump back. Alcoholic Husky adds another 3-second time penalty to that mark of 10 seconds. For 29 laps. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's for one of the Williams. That is for Bartu making a bit of a spin there. So we'll have to see how that continues. Husky getting past LAF in the with DRS assistance. Haas looking to potentially try and fight it back, but Husky able to defend rather comfortably. Here comes LAF and Husky into turn 1. LAF, though, going to think better of it. as he'll dive back to the inside. And, of course, under pressure from the V-carb of DeChal, who's going to make a nice little move through those first couple of corners, taking advantage of LAF having to check up a little bit more than he perhaps would have liked, as well as those medium tires really coming into their own. Alcoholic Husky still managed to hold off. LAF going to be our first probably scheduled pit stop here at the start of lap number 13. Here comes DeChal to the inside of Alcoholic Husky. And is going to get that move done. Stratting, able to kind of use potentially that dirty air of his Aston Martin to just put Husky Gaming a little bit further behind in the lap in that second and third sectors. Alcoholic Husky makes his way back past DeChal with the aid of DRS. He does not serve that penalty, and so I think that penalty could certainly go down to review. And, of course, he will stay ahead of LAF, who was involved in that incident to get the penalty. Can LAF find a way past? No. So Alcoholic Husky managing to stay ahead of LAF, so getting the overcut advantage there on the Haas behind him. Of course, we'll take a look at tires. But, yeah, LAF opting for mediums as well. And there's LAF down the inside, is going to get that move done with DRS advantage. Husky staying out of the way, looking for that cutback, though, is going to dump ERS as they come up over the hill, side by side, as they make their way through. LAF, though, with the inside, a little bit of a wiggle there from the Haas, who is going to manage to hold on. Husky, though, going to get that better exit. Again, going to take a peek around that outside, and is he going to get that move done as they remain side by side? Eric actually stratting dives into the pits, but a great little battle here for ninth. Of course, Husky certainly with at least 3 seconds of penalties as they continue to be side by side, squeezed out to that outside a little bit by LAF. Stratting opting for the hard compound tires as they about remain side by side. But of course, Husky going to have DRS advantages. They make their way over the hill. Coming out of the final corner, of course, there's Guardian Knight, who's going to be trying to track them down from behind it. He's on rather old medium tires. And of course, Breakfast King about 8.5 seconds ahead that they're going to be trying to go after. Yellow flag in Sector 2, that's again for the Williams of M. Requiem, who's now well behind. But Husky able to get that move done into turn one, and of course has those newer medium tires, so is that going to be a potential for him to now pull away? As Husky and LAF cross the line, where will the V-carb be shot out? There he is to the inside. Is Husky going to be able to get past into turn one? He will, and actually is going to get that 3-second time penalty. LAF goes round as he loaded up that car. But yeah, I think DeChal just coming out of the pits, and you know, both drivers having to respect that that car did lead to mistakes from both of them. So hard tires on Husky's car, mediums on Kendricks's. Stratting, meanwhile, going to come out behind Husky, who is going to be really slow coming through those first couple of corners as they go wheel to wheel. So Stratting, though, with those warmed up hard tires, is going to have a chance, and will have DRS. Going to look for that cutback out of that uphill turn 4. DRS open at the back of the Aston Martin. He's going to be looking to the inside there, blocked by the tower, but there is the Aston Martin. He's gotten through back past the Kick Sauber. Breakfast King managing those mediums comfortably, so if he can continue to really stretch those tires, this could be really good. Guardian Knight down to the hairpin is going to get past, but is going to light up those tires as he tries to get back on the power. He's going to drop right down the order. That'll promote Chimpimp up into the top 10. Meanwhile, there's a four-way battle for P10 that will jump to. Chimpimp trying to break that toe. Here comes LAF. He's going to squeeze him back to the outside. LAF still going to go to the outside. Going to sweep around the outside, and is going to turn in on Chimpimp, who was not ready, did not like that line. So LAF and Chimpimp come together, and there's LAF spearing off. So that'll promote Bartu up into the top 10. LAF, meanwhile, gets the 10 seconds for trying to recover that car in corner cutting. He's now off taking a trip to the beach. So it's now going to be almost certainly Bartu versus Guardian Knight for the top 10. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's for that is for the Williams of M. Requiem. Which of course we'll jump to. Having to spin that car around once again. Certainly hope not trying to cause a safety car, but I think just, again, continuing to struggle, and at this point should probably be a retirement. LAF with another mistake, so his day just goes from bad to worse. Husky continuing to try and track down Breakfast King. Our stratting now adds a wrinkle into that battle for what will probably become P2 on track as he receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and that gap currently sits at 2.5 seconds. On those softs and potentially just try and make sure he can salvage a couple of points. Guardian Knight and Chimp Him going to go out ahead, and I think almost come together, but they're now in a battle for P10. A little bit of contact still, but both drivers managing to hold on to their cars. Started towards the back, but great from him. Here comes Breakfast King around the outside of Speed Gunner. He is going to get that move done on those fresh, soft compound tires as he tries to go chasing after points. He is still going to need about 4 seconds to potentially try and pull that back as Viperize comes up to the battle between Guardian Knight and Chimp Pimp. Chimp going to the inside as they make their way through turn 1. Of course, very tough to go side by side through turn 1 and keep it clean, as we've seen a couple of times. Potentially a little bit of a dink to the back, though I couldn't quite see it as Chimp Pimp up into 10th. Breakfast King and Speedy continue to battle side by side as I think Speedy had a little bit of DRS help there. Stratting, meanwhile, continuing to close up on Husky. I think just trying to really, closing up on Gumball, really trying to lock up that P2. Guardian Knight drops down to 12. Bartu and Dechal battling side by side through turn number 8 as they come over the hill. It's still Dechal holding on to that edge. One race as Breakfast King looking around the outside of Viperize into turn 1 is going to run a little bit wide, so is probably going to get a warning there, but it didn't have much else to go. They're going to continue side by side as they make their way up into turn 5. It's going to be Breakfast King with the advantage, but he's going to start to spin, and Viperize nowhere to go. So Breakfast King and Viperize both go round. Speedy Gunner has to dive out of the way, and that promotes Chimp Pimp back up into 10th. I don't know if there was potentially desync there, but it did look like Breakfast King lost that back end slightly before Viperize got into the back of him. But that's really fortunate for Chimp Pimp and potentially Speedy Gunner. 5 laps now left to go in Group 2, Round 2 here in Portugal. And of course, here comes Eric with DRS assistance on his teammate. He'll poke to the inside. As they run side by side down to turn 1, Kendrick's going to lift off and let his teammate go right through, make sure that both cars get through comfortably. And so it's Eric up into P4 on track. Even though he has DRS advantage, still going to have a bit of a decrease in power output generally. So that could be very important. Big dive to the inside, big lockup. So Dechal going to have to take avoiding action there. So there goes Bartu around the outside. He, of course, is going to have DRS advantage now. But almost a big incident between the Williams and the V-Carb in the closing stages of this race. Chimp Pimp, though, with a 3-second time penalty, so that could really affect it. Breakfast King also with a 3-second time penalty as Viperize managing to find his way past the Mercedes driver. Breakfast King and Speedy Gunner also battling side by side, and that's a big incident. That's Speedy Gunner and Breakfast King coming together, and that's going to bring out a late race safety car. So screw everything I was just talking about with the penalties. That makes this race completely different. Back marker will be ghosted as we look to get back underway, but Husky still going to have 2 cars between him and our race leader. Stratting has 2 cars between him and between himself and Husky Gaming. Kendrick's still looking to come up to the back of the grid as Gumball going to be looking to be getting back underway as quick as possible. So who's going to win? That's going to be a very important question. The safety car pulling into the pit lane. Here goes Gumball, and we're back underway here on lap number 32. Green flag here in Portugal, and so it's going to be a 2-lap shootout as we get back underway. And of course, there's going to be battles throughout the whole order trying to get positions made. Husky Gaming, so Kendricks actually gets past our Stratting, who got a terrible jump, so could Kendricks now be in it for a race win? Alcoholic Husky with another 3-second time penalty as he was battling. Contact between the Alpine and the Aston Martin, which is continuing to allow Gumball to pull away, but Husky right on his tail. Awesome Gumball with a tire advantage, though, is in a battle. There's some ghosted back markers there who are all going at it. So, of course, only the 4 solid cars that you could see in that shot through the hairpin are racing each other. So it's really between Gumball, Husky, and Kendricks. So just like in Brazil, we could see another race to the line here in Portugal. Of course, making our way here through the end of Sector 2. That gap behind at 8/10. Kendricks manages to find his way past Husky. So as Kendricks pulled the blinder on strategy now. Up over the hill, of course, DRS going to be activated this lap. This final lap, but there's only going to be 2 chances to open that rear wing. But will it matter? Of course, 6/10 is that gap now. Big mistake from Gumball as he lost a load of time. Yellow flag in Sector 3. That's for a Mercedes behind. I'm not I believe that is Chimp Pimp who has gone round. As we start the final lap here, DRS is enabled. Here comes Kendricks closing that gap to about 4/10 from Gumball behind. So it will be Kendricks and Gumball going at it for the race victory here in Portugal. And of course, Ghosted Car's in there. Big lockup from Gumball. That's a big mistake. It's going to allow Kendricks to sneak up the inside. So Kendricks takes the lead on the final lap. Stratting is through on fresh soft tires. So could he finish a little bit higher? Husky Gaming now in 4th. Can he potentially pull it back? Gumball looks down the inside of Stratting. He makes a mistake. He goes into the side of the Aston Martin. That'll give Husky a shot, but Kendricks now looking to pull away. Of course, Ghosted Cars all over the place, so you never know who's going to be there and who's not. But there goes Kendricks up and over the hill. And just 1 sector and change left to go now. Viperize steals that extra fastest lap point, so potentially looking at 2 points down there in 10th. But here comes up over the hill into Sector 3. DRS is going to be active for Stratting, so it's going to be a question of who gets to the line first and how this pans out with penalties. But here he comes out of the final corner now. Kendricks out of the final corner over the hill. 7/10 is that gap. I don't think anybody else is going to have it, so it will be Kendricks winning the Portuguese Grand Prix for Alpine with a very fortuitous in those closing stages. It'll be Stratting it'll be Husky in 2nd, it'll be Gumball 3rd, Stratting in 4th. Eric will end up in 5th. Formula Jonah ends up in 6th. I believe we'll take away 10 seconds from Alcoholic Husky's time penalty to see where he finishes. DeChal to the line. He'll be at least 7th on track. Husky is then currently 8th, but does finish within 10 seconds of DeChal. And I think within Formula Jonah, so potentially looking at a P6 for him. Bartu coming out of the final corner. He should be P9, of course, well adrift after diving into the pits. Viperize should round out our top 10. He will still, of course, come home with 2 points after getting rather unlucky in those early stages. And LAF, of course, the last of our finishers on the lead lap down there in 11th. So very interesting race in those closing stages, especially as that field started to get stretched out. Of course, congratulations to Kendricks. Definitely a bit of a horror show for Gumball, who really dominated that race. But I think that almost certainly will make Kendricks our driver of the day.